hey, Jen.
Hey.
Thanks for coming and chatting with me. A little fireside chat in this nice studio.
Yeah, I don't see a fireplace, but sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, the fireside is more of a feeling in your heart, I think.
Okay, so it should feel like warm.
Yeah, comfortable,
cozy.
Relaxed. We're just friends.
Yeah, well, I'm like at 1 out of 3 of those things for sure.
Well, we are off the cuff of you just giving a fantastic talk at Craft and Commerce.
Thank you so
and
much.
I hope everybody gets to see this talk because it was that good. But one of the things that you said that really stuck out to me was this idea of there being a gap between who you are in reality and what your brand is portraying to the world. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's so true, especially at conferences like this one, and even just meeting people in person. It happens to me all the time. I meet someone, they're clearly like super talented, good at their job, charismatic, amazing, like super stylish. And then at some point, I'm like, well, where can I find you online? And the first thing that they say, and I'm sure you've heard this before, is like, oh, please don't go to my website, Jen.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to flame them, and just tear them apart. And I'm like, no, I'm sure it's fine. And then sometimes I go and I'm like, it's not that bad. But the vast majority of the time, I'm like, you know what? Actually, like one of these things is not like the others. There's this big gap in who they are or who their brand is and how talented they are and how good their brand is and then what they're showing online. And that gap, I think, just creates huge problems for the perception of their brand and how they show up in the world.
Yeah. And I think we were talking about this earlier. One of the things that people really struggle with is finding the time to actually set themselves apart from the work, from the flywheel of just things happening over and over again. You've got to create content. You've got to talk to customers. You've got to build your business and make money. But they don't ever feel like they have a chance to stop and go and work on something like their website or their brand or anything like that. What's your encouragement to folks who say, I'd love to, I just don't have the time?
I mean, it's so hard because we make time for the most important thing, right? But it's really interesting to me that we can go like, hey, my work is the most important thing. I've got to get that right. And then the rest of it, like I'll get around to. Because in my opinion, your work is always going to be limited by how people perceive it, right? And so if you do a fantastic job selling your product, but the way you package it is in like a Ziploc bag, and you're like, yeah, this is $9,000. People are going to want it. They're going to be like, oh, well, this is like clearly not worth my time and effort. So all the effort that you've put into the work then suddenly matters less than if you were able to be like, no, I care about the packaging just as much as the product. And I think people buy things, especially us designers, we buy things like based on how they're packaged. We perceive things. We perceive even the effort that you put into it based on how it's packaged. And so I think that to me is what translates all the time is like, yeah, sure, maybe you care about your product, maybe it's really good, but maybe that's not the case because the way that you're presenting it to me says that like there's something that's missing.
Yeah.
There's value that's missing.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to realize like if you are scheduling out every minute of your day as a business owner to do client work or to do something that is making you money, then you're not setting yourself up for future success.
Absolutely.
You're setting yourself up for present success.
Yes.
But the present is only going to last for just a second. And then tomorrow, if you've not done all this work, you're going to be constantly doing that cycle of like, oh man, where's my next client coming from? Where's my next purchase coming from? So I love the idea of saying, no, let's get down to what is most important by presenting myself in a way that's I would want to be online.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting too because, I mean, we've had this in our business. We have it all the time where it's like, man, we've been so busy designing websites for everyone else that ours has suffered or like it doesn't reflect what's actually true for us in our business right now. Like these offerings are from a while ago, or like we don't even have that template anymore. Like that's not a service I offer. And I think what we forget is we're not going to our website every day, but other people are, right? Like, so you kind of pretend like it doesn't exist, But everyone else is like, when they meet you, when they see your Instagram, when they read your newsletter, that is the next action step that they're taking. But it's easy for us to be like, oh, that's not the most important thing because, it's not that important. People aren't really going to it.
Yeah.
So I think we have to think of it in the terms of our clients of like, that's the thing that they're encountering. And the Stanford study I referenced on the stage says that 75% of people judge an entire brand based on its website. And so I think that's the thing that I'm always trying to encourage people is like, hey, I know that I get it. Like it is a struggle to prioritize, but number one, you don't have to burn it all down, right? You can improve it a little bit. And this should just be a constant part of your workflow. Your website is like a living, breathing work in progress.
Yeah.
And that's how we should think of it, is like a constant thing that we're maintaining, not a project that we begin and complete.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you mentioned that study that says 75% of somebody's impression about your entire business is based on your website. I think sometimes people struggle with that because most of their leads are coming through Instagram.
Other sources, yep.
So what do you say to folks who are like, I don't even know if my website is a priority at all?
Yeah, well, I think your Instagram is kind of like an Anthropologie shop window, right? Like it is the window dressing for your brand. It's where people are going to be intrigued enough to be a lead. So yes, they might shoot you a DM, but I guarantee you they're going to your website to see, hey, is what I'm encountering here true? Like, yes, I'm interested in this person. I think they might be good at their job, but they're going to vet you by going to your website. And that's where I think like you always say that, bad websites kill great businesses. And that's where I'm like, hey, you know what? There's actually no such thing as a neutral. Either your website is helping you or it's hurting you. And I think the reality is like, we don't realize that our mediocre website is costing us something because we don't know what it would be like if we had something that did a great job for us.
Right.
And that's the hard part for people is I'm like, no, you don't even know what it could be, right? Like you could be getting different leads. You could be getting different offers, but you don't know because you're not experiencing that. And that's what I think it's hard to convey.
Yeah. And I think if people were to look in some of the analytics behind the purchasing decision, they'd be surprised. And you talked a little bit about that and how that's changed. Share a little bit from what you had mentioned. Yeah.
So I think that there's been a shift, and I think a lot of business owners are seeing it right now. For us, like we're working harder to make less money, because today's consumer has changed. There was this time where purchasing decisions were super linear. It was like you decide you want something, you compare some options, you do some research, and then you buy. And then during COVID, people weren't even researching, they were just bored, so they were just buying, right? And so we all saw this big boom. I know for us, our business just exploded because people were sitting at home going like, I need to do this, I'm just gonna buy it now. They had time. But now we've seen this huge shift, and I think like Vogue is talking about, Business Insider, all of these people are talking about kind of the end of the marketing funnel. And I think part of what it is that like, as I said on stage, today's buyer has been to therapy. They have boundaries. They know what they want and need. They're going to research their options. They're going to read thousands of reviews for like a $12 eyebrow pencil. And so they're cautious with how they invest their money. And beyond that, they also have more options all over the world for any product or service than we've ever seen in history. So I think the reality is that like as small business owners, as creatives, as entrepreneurs, we have to adapt to today's consumer. We can't expect them to adapt to us.
Yeah, for sure.
And so with that, you have to distinguish yourself as like people are looking for a reason to choose me. What am I giving them?
Yeah.
Right? Is there anything that's going to stand out to them? Because that's where your website really should be like a hell yes or a hell no. Like this is what I want or this is not what I want. And people, if they're feeling in the middle, they're not going to take an action.
Yeah.
So it has to be that hell yes.
Yeah. And I think too, something that people often don't understand is people are much more likely to buy from you if they feel like they could be friends with you in real life.
Yep.
And so if you aren't able to express who you really are online, that makes it even harder for somebody to say yes to, buying your service or purchasing your course or your product. And so I think it's kind of a wake up call. And you had mentioned this, like you, as much of your personality that you can bring you should, you know, you shouldn't stifle down in order to like appeal to more folks. Talk a little bit about that, about how to really turn up the volume on your own personality and what makes you unique.
Yeah, so I think we're really seeing the rise of the founder right now, even in super small businesses, because the reality is that people want to buy from people. And so they want to feel like they can know, like, and trust someone, not just a business. And so we've seen this with influencer marketing. I think like influencer marketing is kind of like going by the wayside. I think we're experiencing the end of that. And what we're really beginning to see is like, hey, you should inhabit your business. Like anyone can influence. All influence is building relationships. So I think what we're seeing right now is like, hey, are you stepping up as the person at the forefront of your business that tells people, hey, I see you, I am good at what I do, and I can help you? That's what people want to experience. But I think for me, for so many years, like, it was so much easier to hide in my business because that felt like too much work. It felt vulnerable. It felt difficult. I didn't feel like I was good at it. I didn't feel like my personality made sense as a marketer. And so it was easier to be like, I'm just good at design. That's what I'm going to do. I'll disappear into that. But where we have seen like the most success is when when I've been willing to say like, hey, no, like this is who I am. And that's why I'm capable of doing what I do. And I think in the era of AI, everything else is replicable, but you are not, right? They can copy your style. They can copy your story. They can copy so many things. They can copy your story. What they can't copy is like who you are. They can't copy your perspective, your experience. AI cannot do what you do. It can only be used by you as a tool. And so I think increasingly small business owners, creatives, entrepreneurs, designers, whoever they are, they have to step up and be like, it's my vision. And this is the part of my story that allows me to do this for you. That's what people want to hear.
Yeah. Well, we've got a little bit more time left. I know you guys have a new template that is fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so the Fitzgerald template, we were excited to do something that would just push creative boundaries. We did this whole study at the beginning of the year of like, this is what a great website has to be in 2024. It should be big. It should be vibrant. There should be large scale type. It should feel alive as people are browsing it. So then we had to make that, which was like, oh crap. Like we made all these things that we said it had to be. And so then we had to do it. But the cool part is I think we did. And we just released it last week and the response has just been like kind of astounding because people are like, this feels new. It feels fresh. And then the cool part is that it's easily our most versatile template where it goes from super editorial and sophisticated to like working for Wendy's in a few hours. And we even shipped it off to a few of our designer friends and had them customize it in different styles for different industries. And it was shocking to see how well it could adapt. And, I was so shocked because I designed it, but still seeing it be adapted was really cool and special and validating to be like, you know what? Good design allows people to take their vision and bring it to life. And my job isn't to give you a style or give you a brand. It's to allow your brand to inhabit something beautiful. And so that I think was the thing that I was most excited about of like, I think we did that. And it's really cool to see so many brands empowered to bring like the fullness of who they are online. Yeah, that's awesome. Tell us where people might find out more information about. Yeah, so that template is the Fitzgerald template on our website. All of our templates are good, so it's not like that's the only one, guys. Yeah. But you can find them and us at Tonic Site Shop, both on social media and then on our website, which hopefully doesn't suck. Yeah.